Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and Rhett is out in the living room. It is 8:41 a.m., April 29th. I believe tomorrow is the last day of the month. Yeah, it is. So we are almost to May. We're still working on this stuff, and we are currently running our unit tests. And I'm definitely using unit tests in a way that they were never intended to be used. I don't think. I don't think it was ever an intention that people would use unit tests to sort of increase their understanding of the framework they're working in. That's like literally the opposite of what unit tests are for. But I would like to understand the framework a lot more than I want to understand the units of software development. I don't really care about that. Um, I mean, I care, but it's like pretty low on my list. So let's just do this. I'm going to comment this line out. Whenever I call the ST rendering service and I tell it to get the base renderer, we are getting a error. And it's like this injector does not exist or has already been removed or something like that. I don't know if that is accurate. Like a lot of times you'll get 1, 2 equal. You'll get like you'll get like errors that like were probably the most likely reason for it to be caused, but maybe not always. So it may not be this. Injector has already been destroyed. Like it may not even exist. Who knows? Like there's just no telling. So that could be a bit of what they like to call a red herring. And I think it kind of harkens back to when people used to get chased by dogs, like trackers would be tracking, and someone might take a herring and drag in a different direction than that, and then go run a different direction because they know the dog is gonna follow the more the stronger scent, but the scent could be a false scent, and I suspect this is a false scent, but maybe not. There's no telling. All right, so it did not. I think I updated this. It did not update it, so now it's passing. So all I have to do is undo this line of code, and things break. And I'm pretty sure it's because I don't know why actually. I think it's because the renderer service get base renderer tries to use something that it tries to use a service, a singleton service that doesn't exist yet. That's my guess. I'm not sure. But I definitely want to try to understand that. And like I said, in reality, what we're doing is um, we're trying to understand um, the um, the framework, like how this framework works. And I think we already did this once. We actually went through this exact same process where we're just slowly breaking through, trying to find the thing that's broken. Doesn't look like this is rerunning, but maybe it is. All right, so now it's happy. All right, so let's see. I don't think, well, it is very possible that create render is the problem. So let's try uncommenting this. If I remember correctly, it was down here, this set animation function for STID. And, we might end up like just adding a guard. I feel like that we went down that path once before. We added a guard, and then we found out we didn't need it for whatever problem we had, and now we might need to add the guard. But if that is the path we take, then that is probably just a punt. Like we don't understand what's happening. It would be nice if we understood what was actually happening. Okay, so these 3 assignments should not cause a problem. don't think anything here causes the problem, but we'll find out here in a second. But this is probably going to, because this is probably it could be a pointing on like pointing out that the that was a huge mistake, making that deferred classes, deferred um, dependency classes, like that could have just been a huge mistake. Okay, no, I don't think, I can't remember if this is the problem. So I think all this does is create the renderer. And I think it is reasonable, like to say, oh, okay, well, we're just going to add a guard so that during unit tests it quits failing. I mean, that is totally reasonable because that's really not what unit tests are for. They're not for running your stuff within the context, but um, they are. So since we're so close to the end, I'm just going to and so I remember we did this. We had this exact same thing in the set animation function. And I think what's happening is this, it's probably not even that line of code. It's probably when it tries to run later. All right. Man, this is feeling like Groundhog Day because we did this exact thing. So in our renderer service, it tries to call the set animation function for STID. That's what happens. Now, let's sort of take a step back and go back to our unit tests and just put a little bit of thought into this. So when we create oh, do we not even? Okay, yeah, we use their test bed, and when we create our test bed, see if we inject our renderer service. So we do all these injects in our test bed, but I'm thinking we probably also need to inject our whatever service it's choking on. Does it tell us what it's saying that it dies inside of ST animation deferred dependency class on line 24, which gets called from the animation service. Okay. Which gets called during a for loop for 3 classes. So, all right. So now I just wanted to take a step back, and now I'm going to come over here, go to definition. All right. So this interesting. Render. So I wonder if we get rid of this line of code here. Render set animation loop. So this, I believe, is what puts it into the renders or puts it into the like where it runs over and over again. Attempts to run it 16 in the request animation frame. Okay, so that is our problem. Render set animation root. So we get the function, it's fine. But when we get there with the function, we try to do it. And I don't think there's anything in here that's actually breaking. I think what's breaking is probably in, well, no. Oh, okay, this sets the animation function and it accepts the function that it's going to set. That's right. So this is weird, right? This is not going to be super obvious what the problem is because I think the problem is inside the function that we're passing to this. So we pass in the stid and then a function, and then it runs that function. So if we don't run that function, so it's easy to think that this is in the set animation loop, right? Go to definition. Oh, and that's not even ours. That's inside of the WebGL. So we have control over this function. So now let's hit back. And do I actually need the renderer function? I don't know if I need the renderer function. Create. So this creates it, which is fine. And then this, I think we could just pass this a function. And I think this is even, this signature is actually an actual legit function that does nothing. So let's see on that. I don't, if this works, I don't. Okay, so that did not work. And this is weird because in this situation, this does not refer to an empty object. This is actually the open and closing brackets to a function, which is going to be return void semicolon. This is weird. I think it might just be complaining because it's stylistically expression. Ex, that is weird that it's because that should be the same thing. Or maybe return. Maybe it's not void. Oh, yeah, just return. So that basically returns null, like it just doesn't return anything. All right. See if the problem goes away. I don't know that it feels like it's just not live picking up anything. All right. So basically what happens is this function is upset because it tries to run something this create animation function for renderer. I would like to investigate this a little bit more just because this is like it's a once in a blue moon sort of opportunity. So I'm going to take this back down here. I'm going to go into here, place that. I don't know. I feel like what I was actually doing for unit testing is actually better. Is you return it, give it a function that doesn't do anything. But for learning, it's not better because it would be kind of nice to understand what is actually happening here. I doubt I'll get a good understanding of what's happening here, but okay, so apparently something in this update animation for renderer is dying. So update animation for renderer, I believe, has a, no, it doesn't. I was thinking this probably had um, dependency, a later dependency, a dependency that ends up being needed later. All right, so something in here is not happy. So let's just go ahead and just blindly just sort of go through here because just try to lower the number of moving parts. So now this function literally all it does is return true. That's so wild how some days it works and some days it doesn't. Okay, so that's happy. Like the auto refresh. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I would imagine we can get the scene by ID. Maybe not. Maybe scene service doesn't exist. So that time it reloaded on its own, which is wild. Like why? Why did it reload that time, but not the time before? Okay, so this comment probably is not a problem. And then this assignment shouldn't be a problem. If we did get a scene, an instance of the scene, to me, yeah, there we go. And then I'm guessing this is not a problem. All right. Oh, this is a problem. Update animation for mesh ID. Okay, so is this a problem? Can I do this? All right, so that is our problem in there. So now let's go to the update animations for mesh ID. I would love to figure this out. I seriously doubt we will. Go to implementation or go to definition. All right, so something is happening in here. And again, I just want to reiterate, because I said this the other day, how nice it is to have these single input, single output things, and then just be able to comment everything out in the middle while you're testing, while you're doing unit tests. Oh yeah, see, this is the for each that when we took our step back, it was upset. It was just would really, like I said, I don't think I'm going to figure out what's going on, but I do think that um, I'll have myself in position to figure out what's going on. Okay, so can we get our mesh at this point? See, it's literally running later. It's because this is something that just runs over and over again, um, 60 times a second. So we need to, um, so that's why it ends up throwing that error, even though everything's passing, which is really strange. Okay, so that is our problem. When we go to get our ST animations from our ST animation service. And see, we're going to start running into more issues like that because this is sort of a pattern that I've leaned into that I don't have a lot of experience with. All right, so I'm going to uncomment this, which should not fix anything, but then this thing is supposed to be. So let's see if I return this, if I give it an array, just an empty array, if it starts passing again. I think it will, but I can't be sure. And see, it didn't rebuild that time. Like I didn't see a reload. Yeah, why? Why? That was bizarre, right? That was absolutely bizarre. Now it was like one of those things that I complain about nonstop, and now they're not supporting Jasmine Karma anymore, and I'm like, oh no, what happened? So now I kind of regret being such a harsh critic of this because now I don't get it in my new projects. I think this is probably our problem. Trying to get the mesh service. So it's kind of funny because this is a bit misleading because, oh, so I think it dies here. So every time it's going to, 60 times a second, it's going to be trying to get a reference to this mesh service. Yeah, so it died in there. So I'm just going to uncomment this because I don't think this is what's causing the problem. But I can, well, and it doesn't matter because if it was undefined, if it returns an undefined, will be, but I think the problem is in here. Go to definition. All right. Now it's trying to get to there, and this is supposed to return a mesh service. So, um, but the injector doesn't have anything in it at this point, and that's because it's running later. Um, so I feel like we should add a guard. But the problem is, I think before it's running the request animation frame and it's already destroyed it. I can't remember if I could do this if injector. Because I don't know if this dot injector exists or not. Undefined. So we're saying it can return both, which we're already handling on the back side of this thing. And then mesh service ms equals, and then I don't know if this works or not. ms equals. I don't know what the injector is. So we've already did. I remember doing this once before, trying to understand the injector. And I don't know. See, this did not. I don't think this rebuilt. Reload. So it's still broke. I don't know if I type in. I don't know what happens if I console.log this dot injector. I don't know what happens if we do this. But we definitely want to hit F12, go to our console and see if we can see it in here. I think we'll start seeing it over and over again, I think. Yeah. You see it died right there. So the injector existed, but the problem is that the parent record, see, it has nothing. So I think the injector exists, but it doesn't have anything in it. And I remember I had some code before that you would say, hey, if this doesn't exist, then create it or whatever. But it's complaining. I wonder, comma, this dot injector dot. I think get is the only thing. See, we see records, but it's not letting us. Oh, that's right. You know what we did? We added the try catch. That's what we did. Try catch. And that will try, and at least it won't break everything if the injector, but this is not something we want. So we probably will want to have a console log or something. But I remember the problem was that trying to get it to run, trying to get it to actually run the catch, the error was a problem. But I don't think it'll be a problem here. I think it'll definitely get caught. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a good, wonderful day. Bye.